Say what? What's wrong with all these niggas? They lying. And now I'm saying, I try and put my partners on, we always go and be first. A team of all-stars like the diamonds on my t-shirt. Look at all these niggas' faces, boy, all they hurt. We winning everything earned, nothing given to us. Repeat champions wanna win, and you gotta go through us. Non-debatable, so don't talk to us. Undefeated in belts, so we don't talk losers. We talking true lyric, boy, talk to us. First take every word great. The record produce verbs, check out their word great. You can't get a word great.
Go.
All right, welcome to LAL Corner, right? Right here, we're now going to discuss a couple topics, all right? The first off, we're going to discuss about Richard Sherman, his comments towards Skip Bayless, particularly, but, you know, more about how he thinks he's better than Darrelle Revis. I am Denzel Beverly. This is my man, Matthew Bradford. Let's go.
All right, so obviously, if you didn't see the video, the link is on the Legends and Legacies page, and I just wanted to get your general thoughts on it. Like, what do you think of what happened between Sherman and Skip?
I think that it is phenomenal the way Richard Sherman went up there and the way he portrayed himself as that Stanford graduate. I like that shit.
Well, I think he did a terrible job representing Stanford. He came off as cocky. He came off as arrogant. He basically dodged every point that Skip was trying to make. But let's keep it in perspective here. The last 2 years that Sherman has put up these amazing numbers, and they are pretty good numbers, 14 interceptions, I believe.
The fact of the matter is that what I didn't like was that he said he was going to let his numbers speak for themselves. But he never stopped talking.
But no. But the point is that Skip was saying that you aren't letting the numbers speak for themselves. You're becoming known for your mouth. You're talking.
He said specifically, you're not letting your numbers speak for yourself. And Richard Sherman is speaking for himself, and that's exactly what he did. Well, he didn't stop talking. He came out with a whole lot of trash talk. You know, all these. Listen, Twitter is not the way that you attack shit. All right, this motherfucker was on Twitter blowing up all to Skip, to frickin' Darrelle Revis. If you want to be the best corner in football, you come out there and you make the play. Somebody didn't get that memo.
Well, I think generally, what he tried to do was come out and, like he said, I'm going to destroy you. He came on this specific show to attack Skip personally, which is not only a waste of time, it looks unprofessional. And for a young man in his situation who has been, you know, quite frankly, blessed to be in the position that he's in, the fact that he decided that he's going to attack Skip and say that Skip hasn't accomplished as much in life
that definitely wasn't anything that he should have ever said. But he's
on Skip's show. This is a guy, you're talking to a 61-year-old man who has his own show, who obviously is at the top of his field, and the fact that he's made it on primetime ESPN, and you're a guy
he said Sherman, to him, and I quote, "In my 24 years of age, I am better than you at life."
Which is a ridiculous comment.
Which is a ridiculous comment for anybody to say to anyone of this status.
But
you may be in the NFL, you know, you're making plays, you know, scoring touchdowns, whatever. Mm-hmm. But for you to say this to somebody, you know, who is an accomplished, you know, media analyst, regardless of whether you don't like him, but if you didn't like him, you took the time to listen to what he's saying, and, you know, you took the time to go on his show, so obviously you like him a little bit, you know, in order to listen to him speak, you know, like, the fuck?
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting is that he tried to call Skip ignorant and pompous, and that he thinks he's a little bit more than what he is. But what Sherman actually did was prove that he's pompous and thinks he's more than what he is, right? So he touted this number about how I'm the top 22 at my position, in my profession.
He told Skip Bayless that he's egotistical, which I could agree with. But at the same time, Richard Sherman is exactly the same. He thinks so highly of himself that he's telling Skip that he's better than him.
Well, that's not. But the point is not to diminish his accomplishments, which I said are notable.
It's not to diminish his accomplishments. You know, for somebody who was drafted in the 5th round, you know, to come out into the league and to have put up these numbers, that's great. That's really all great. You know, he said in Madden 12 his rating was a 57, where nobody thought he was shit. Now it is like a 93 or some shit, and he is one of the top cornerbacks in the game.
But I
poise
really
off of his play in real life.
Two things that really got me was that first he obviously said I'm one of the best 22 in the league, basically, which
he
I don't
said in
agree
his
with.
field.
I don't agree with either. But he says he's the top 22 players because he was on All Pro. Well, Richard, All Pro, being a top 22 player, All Pro means they only take 2 players from each position.
For that year. It's not like, next year, you could be the worst.
But that's one thing that got to me. He compared it to Skip, who's in the industry with millions of people, whereas the NFL only has a good, I would say, 400 and 500 players who actually make a roster every year. So the point I'm trying to make is that...
Well, it's definitely more than 500. But.
Yeah, 50 players a team... 32 teams, so let's say around 2,000 or 3,000 players who actually make the starting roster minus the practice squad and all these other things.
Well, let's cut that 3,000 down. But go ahead.
And the other thing he said that got to me was the fact that he was a Stanford educated graduate. And let's go back to that. Well, you graduated with a degree in communications, and I'm not going to diminish the career he chose, but he came at Skip.
Well, he really didn't choose that career because it's in the NFL.
Yeah, well, he's coming at a man who's written 3 books, who has worked at the top of his field, every major newspaper and journalistic, career you can hold, and a guy who worked his way all the way up to primetime television on one of the biggest networks in the world, and to say that he hasn't accomplished as much as him in life as a 22-year-old young man who's just entering what he's really doing in life, a guy who wasn't expected to be great. Let's not forget he was a 5th-round pick. He obviously was not the best at his profession in college, and he rubbed me the wrong way, and I just don't think he'll have a very long career. As a top player,
I wouldn't really say that his career won't be long due to the what he said.
How about we debate that next, and how great we actually think this guy is, whether or not he's in the same class as Reeves.
He's
how
trash
long
talking.
Will he be long
it might ruin his career down the line, but you can't say he won't have that great of a career due to his trash talking. I mean, you look at Terrell Owens, he's like
could have been better than
he could have been better than he was, but at the end of the day, he's 3rd in receiving yards. I think he's like top 5 in touchdowns or receptions or something like that. So I mean, will he ever make the Hall of Fame based off of that attitude? That's debatable.
Let's go at how good we actually think Sherman is, though. Like, obviously, you think that Sherman is at this point where he's that good.
I think Sherman is definitely a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Is he better than Reeves? No, but I like the guy. I fucks with him.
Like I said.
Listen. All right, we're out of time for this segment.
Oh, no.
Fuck his opinion.
You're not gonna end that like that. Just saying no. First of all, I don't think Sherman is in the same class as Darrelle Reeves. We can eliminate that right now as a tier corner. I believe there's only one elite cornerback.
As a top tier corner, I think it's Darrelle Reeves hands down.
There's only one elite quarterback in the NFL.
I still would say Sherman is a very good corner. He's a top cornerback.
Let's put it in perspective. Sherman has one of the best front sevens in football.
Okay, all right.
He has one of the best cornerbacks in the league. All right.
So your argument is that Darrelle has to do it all by himself because he doesn't have really any other secondary. He has some shit playing safety, and he has inconsistent Cromartie on the other side. But I mean, he has a pretty decent front 7.
No. He does not have a pretty decent front 7. If you look at that front,
they're not as great. I don't think they're as great as Seattle's. They're not as great as Seattle, but name
a defensive lineman on the Jets right now.
All right, Muhammad Wilkerson, Quentin Coples.
Young players who haven't produced to this point where they can be considered a threat.
All right, old motherfuckers. You know what? You're right. I don't know. I can't name those motherfuckers off the top of my head. But you know what? Listen. The safeties they had was
LaRon Landry.
LaRon Landry, he's a hurt ass.
Always injured.
He made some plays. I think he made the Pro Bowl this year as a Jets safety. But he's been injured. He's been inconsistent. All right. So I understand where you're coming from. Listen. All right. We're coming back. All right, and we're gonna debate more on this topic. Right now, signing out.